everyone, this is Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Now today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet this fun little keychain bag. It's a 5 by 4 inch bag and it's the perfect size to put your business cards or identification, maybe allergy or medical information that you need, hang it on your child or your backpack or bag, and you've got what you need. You can throw in little extra pencils or different things that you might need, like your chapstick when you go places, and it also works great on your luggage. This is a free crochet pattern on my blog, and you can find that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. I originally wrote this pattern a few years ago using the Red Heart Cordial yarn. But this yarn is no longer available in stores. Now they may have some on the Red Heart website. I don't know if they still do, but I was unable to pick some up local. And neither were my friends. And so they asked if I could do this same bag so they could add it to their child's backpack for back to school in a different yarn. So then I decided to try to use the Red Heart Strata. It worked great. Unfortunately, it's also discontinued in the stores. And again, you may try looking on the Red Heart website to see if they have any that you can get. And of course, you can always try eBay and Amazon and some of the other places if you want to try to find some of these two yarns. Well, when I was asked to redo this video, I decided to see if I could find another yarn that would work. And I found this here. This is Yarnspiration's Bernat Maker. It's also a number 5 yarn. And it's nice and sturdy because the point of these two bags is to be a good sturdy bag that's going to take a lot of push and shove from being hanging on your luggage or your bag. So we're going to use this today. This is Bernat Maker, and the feel of it is really similar to the Strata yarn, so I think it's really going to work great. Another option, if you want it to be more like the cord, is you can use craft cord or paracord as well. These don't have much stretch, where these have a little bit. So it's kind of up to you which choice you want to make. We're going to be stitching today with our J. The J is a 6.00 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need a needle for weaving in ends, and make sure that the eye is big enough to fit through the button that you choose, because you are going to need one button, and make sure, like I said, that needle can go through that button. And then the other thing you're going to need is a 1-inch D-ring, and it's a D, called a D-ring because it looks like a D. It's flat and curved. If you look in your fabric departments in your craft stores, that's where you'll find the D-rings. And then you'll also need some of these clips, and you can purchase them like this. And these are found over in the jewelry making department. Now, I found both the clips and the D-rings in the fabric department in Walmart. And of course, the last thing that you're going to need is a pair of scissors. The way that we will make our little keychain bag is we'll be making a long rectangle. Then we'll make the flap of the bag. We'll slip stitch the sides closed. Then we'll make this little tab with our D-ring and clip. So the construction is very simple. We're going to begin with our slip knot. And then we're going to loosely chain 22. And you don't want to chain tightly on your initial chain, or the side of your bag will pucker when we go to close it up. So I'm chaining 22 chains. We're going to be stitching double crochets. Yarn over and place your first stitch in the fourth chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. And now we're going to place 1 double crochet in each stitch across. One double crochet in each of the chain stitches across. At the end of R1, you should have 20 double crochets. The first 3 chains counted as our first double crochet, and then 19 more double crochets. We're going to chain 3 and turn. Now, our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, so we're going to place our first double crochet in the next stitch. And then you'll stitch 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets across, and you'll have 20 double crochets again because the chain 3 counted as our first, and then we're going to stitch 19. So for row 2, we're stitching 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets across. We've stitched 2 rows of double crochet. Chain 3 and turn, and we're going to repeat what we did for row 2 till we have 6 rows. So we have 2 rows, so we need to repeat for 4 more rows. Chain 3, 1 double crochet in each double crochet across, turn, chain 3, and repeat until we have 6 rows of double crochet with 20 double crochets on each row. So just to repeat, we're repeating row 2 4 more times, chain 3, 1 double crochet in each stitch, turn, chain 3, and repeat till we have a total of 6 rows. After you have completed 6 rows of double crochet, we're going to put a single crochet trim all the way around the rectangle. So don't chain 3 at the end, just chain 1 and turn. And now we're going to place 1 single crochet in each of the single crochets across on the top. Go in the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull that loop through. And that is our single crochet. So for the top part of our rectangle, we're just placing 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets across. Once you've single crocheted up the top of the rectangle, we're going to place 2 single crochets in the corner, and that's going to help the edge of our rectangle just move around that corner nicely. Now we need a total of 13 single crochets across. So we're going to count that first one. There's one. And we're going to try to get in the stitches more than we do the holes for a nice smooth edge. There may be an occasion where you have to put it in the hole, but try not to. All right, so let's see how many we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. 8. All right, I put one in a hole there. That's 10. 11. 12 and 13. There we go. 13 single crochets on the end. We're going to turn and we're going to place another single crochet in that same spot where we put that last single crochet. That again is going to help it ease around the corner. Now we're at the bottom where we have our beginning chain. So we'll just put a single crochet in each of those chains. We'll just move down the side of here, one single crochet in each of the stitches, and then we'll repeat what we did on this side on this side. I have single crocheted on all 4 sides of my rectangle. Here's my last side. We need to make sure that we have 13 single crochets. I'm going to join to the first single crochet with a slip stitch and chain 1. We're going to turn our work because now we're going to use this end here to create the flap for our bag. So we need to make sure we put 1 single crochet in each of the 13 single crochets across. There's 10, 11, oops, 12 and 13. Chain 1 and turn. To make our flap of our bag sort of curve in on the ends, we're going to stitch the first 2 single crochets together. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in the first stitch and pull up a loop. We'll go in the next stitch and pull up a loop. Yarn over and go through all 3 of those loops. Then we'll single crochet across and we'll repeat that with the last 2 stitches. All right, so we'll stitch the last 2 together. That's called a single crochet decrease. We're going to turn and repeat that on this next row. There's our single crochet decrease. We'll stitch across and we'll stitch the last 2 together with a single crochet decrease again. All right, right, we're to the last two, so we'll stitch those together with a single crochet decrease. And now we're going to cut our yarn and tie that off. So now we have made the body portion of our bag, and I'm going to go ahead and just pull that to the inside to get it out of the way. And we do have two ends that we have to weave in. Okay, and next, the way the bag is going to work is we're going to fold the bottom up like this, and we're going to stitch closed the two sides with slip stitches. I took a minute and went ahead and weaved in those two ends so I don't have to deal with it later, and you just use your needle and weave it in like you do with other yarn. We're going to fold the bottom up because this is our flap. We'll take our yarn and go through the bottom two stitches. Leave yourself a little bit of yarn at the end for weaving in. We'll pull that through and just make a chain one just to hold that in place. And now we're going to go through the outside loops of those single crochets and just stitch slip stitches. So we'll go through both thicknesses, pull a loop through, and then pull that loop through the loop that's on our hook. You want to make sure you're not stitching too tightly, but also you want to make sure that you're not leaving it too loose so that things can come out the sides. Whoops, gotta get in that stitch. All right, now this last one, make sure you stitch it really good because that's where a lot of the wear and tear is going to be, is on this edge. Alrighty. All right, now we're going to cut that. We'll tie that off, and then we'll weave that to the inside. I'm just going to tuck it on the inside so you can see how that looks. Pull this one in. There we go. And so that's the first side. And what I like to do is line it up from where I ended over here so that it's exactly the same. And then I'll do the same thing on this side. There we go. I'll chain one. Make sure it's nice and sturdy because we want that end to hold. And then I just slip stitch going the other direction. Make sure you get that last one because we don't want any corners to have open holes. And again, tie that off. And that's how the sides of the bag are done. Let's go ahead and add the button and the button little loop, and then I'll show you how to make the flap so you can hang it on your bag. We're going to take a piece of the matching yarn, and we're going to decide where we want our button. Now, how far up your flap you make your bag is up to you. You can have a short flap or you can have a long flap. It's up to you how you want to do that. I like to do it about right there. And so the button needs to be about right there because the flap's going to come around. All right, so when you're sewing on your button, make sure that you go through stitches and not the holes because you don't want that button to come off. And again, make sure you can get your thread and your needle through the holes of the button and go through a stitch to the inside. And you're going to want to do that a couple of times until you're happy that the button is securely attached to your bag. Then we'll just go on the inside. There's an end I need to weave in. And once you've gone through it a couple of times and you feel comfortable that your button's not going to come off, we're just going to tie a couple of knots to hold the button. If you feel like the button needs to be glued a little bit, you can add just a little bit of fabric glue. I don't recommend using hot glue on this type of project because you don't want the glue to get heated up and then the knot to come undone. All right, looks like I have a little end I need to weave in there. All right, so now we're going to take the rest of the piece of yarn. You're going to need about 6 or 8 inches. And we're going to find the center of the bag. Whoops. And you'll see I'm going through the stitches right there on that first row. Pull that up. Then I'm going to go over 2 stitches and pull that back through. There we go. And what I do is I put the button over so I can see how far up I need to do that. Okay. And then I just tie a little knot. Now, the cord type yarn isn't as stretchy as this yarn is, so keep that in mind when making your little button loop here. I'll tie it once and then I'll give it a second knot. Try to get them as close together as possible. We'll clip that, and again, if you want to add a little fabric glue to that, you can. My unweaved in end in there. And that's how you make the little loop for your button. Just like that. So now you have just a simple little bag. I need to weave this end in, and then I'm going to show you how to add the little tab so that we can attach it to your backpack. Hook the little hook onto the D-ring. We want to do that first. Then we're going to take our yarn, put your hook through the D-ring, grab that yarn, leaving yourself a nice long tail, pull it through on the flat side, just like that. You'll have to hang on to that tail for a second. And then we're going to stitch 3 single crochets right over that D-ring edge. And you'll notice I'm pulling a little bit, snugging it down. There's 2, and here's the third one. You want those to be nice and snug down so they're not going to come off. And we'll come back and deal with this end after a bit. Just leave it sit there. We're going to chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to place 1 single crochet in each of those 3. So there's 1, 2. This is a little bit snug. You'll have to fight it just a little. There we go. There's the third one. Chain 1 and turn. All right, and we're going to repeat this 2 more times. 3 single crochets, chain 1 and turn. Oops. 1 more row. 1, 2, 3. Now, that's all the longer I want my tab. If you want your tab to be longer, you certainly can do that. I just don't want to. All right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to put this tab right up here on that edge where we have those slip stitches. I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to move my work all the way over. And it's up to you how far up the bag you want it. I like it right at the beginning of where the bag starts. Okay, so we'll go right in this first single crochet and we'll go right in the first single crochet on the bag. And we'll stitch a slip stitch. Snug it down. We'll do the same thing. Make sure it's snug down and tight. We don't want it going anywhere. And there you go. Now we'll leave ourselves a good amount of yarn here, a couple inches or so we can weave that in, and we'll tie that off. And that's how you make the tab on your bag. Now we have these 2 ends to weave in, and this part can be a little bit tricky, but not bad. All right, so we're going to start with the end that's up here by the D-ring. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to go right in those stitches that we made around that D-ring and just push it across. There we go. And then I'll stretch it out a little, flatten it out. This type of yarn is a little bit challenging for weaving in, so you're just going to have to take your time, and you probably won't be able to go through the fibers of the yarn. You'll just be able to go around the stitches. There we go. And we made those stitches nice and tight because we want them to hold. And so that's why this is a little bit hard to do. But it's okay. We want it to stay put, right? I'm just going to work down this way. And then I'm going to go right in the bag. That's why you need to leave yourself just a little bit of yarn for weaving that in. There we go. Got stuck. All right. And now we're just going to take this other piece, spread those out a little, and just go right into the bag. Probably the most time-consuming thing about this bag is weaving in of the ends. But we want this bag to be good and sturdy. We don't want it coming apart. And then I'm going to take those 2 ends and tie them. I know that's normally a crochet no-no because we've tied a couple knots today, but this particular kind of yarn is not like your normal yarn. And you want to make sure everything is going to stay. And like I said, any place where we tied a knot, if you want to add a little bit of fiber glue, fabric glue, there's also a fray check you can try. Those all will help with the knots not coming undone. And so that's our simple little fun keychain bag. And the neat thing is you can add charms, you can add buttons, ribbons, bows, whatever you or your child are into. You can add any kind of embellishment that you want to make it personal. It's just a nice little bag to keep some special or important things in to attach to your bag.